morning. I'm Dr. Stumbler, not a real doctor, just someone with a clipboard and an amazing sense of bedside sarcasm. Today we're talking about a troubling epidemic affecting millions worldwide. It's called SASS. Stuff Accumulation Syndrome Syndrome. Yeah, you didn't hear me wrong. I said syndrome twice because it's all about accumulating extra stuff we don't need, including redundant medical terminology, apparently. Now, SASS sufferers often present with something we call a kryptonite category. That's the sort of thing they buy over and over again because they just can't resist it. For some, it's handbags. For others, it's crafting supplies. For me, well, we'll get into that later. Now, I have a list of some common symptoms here, and they include compulsion to buy more washi tape despite never finishing a roll, nightstands structurally compromised by to-be-read piles for all my readers out there, recurring convictions that a 23rd black turtleneck is absolutely necessary because the neckline is slightly different, craft supplies multiplying in drawers without any direct human involvement. I've seen that one several times. Okay, backup stockpiles so deep they could outlast 3 apocalypses, but of course only of your favorite items. Necessities like food, that doesn't happen with. And then something like buying a new eyeshadow palette for every season, but only using the taupe shade in each palette. But don't worry, there is a treatment, and it doesn't involve shame. It involves understanding. So let's get to the real diagnosis behind SASS: maximalism. We laugh about SASS, but underneath the joke is something real. Why do we acquire so much stuff? Why does maximalism feel both thrilling and suffocating? Because what if maximalism isn't really about acquiring more stuff? What if it's about maximizing our enjoyment of the stuff we choose to own? Let's first be clear what we're talking about here. This isn't about aesthetic maximalism, those gorgeously layered, pattern-rich rooms that make your heart sing. This is about maximalism as a consumer behavior, the urge to have more, to try more, to own more. And although it might be distantly related in some cases, maximalism is definitely not the same thing as hoarding. Maximalists don't tend to keep broken things that don't serve a purpose. We're more about compiling categories or collecting experiences through objects or trying on different versions of ourselves through purchases. I actually have a whole video on collecting if you want to check that out. I'll leave it here and in the show notes. Now, I know minimalism gets all the moral credit these days. Less is more, buy nothing new, be blessed with less. But I've learned that there's nothing inherently virtuous about having less, just like there's nothing inherently shameful about having more. The question isn't how much you own, it's whether what you own adds to your life or subtracts from it. For maximalism, the thrill is in abundance, from choice, from having a drawer full of options laid out before you like great songs on a playlist. There's genuine joy in that moment of, ooh, what should I play with today? But, and this is where SASS creeps in, that same abundance can become overwhelming, kind of like a playlist with too many songs. You end up constantly skipping through the ones that you're really not in the mood to hear, instead of listening to the ones that make your heart beat faster and make you want to sing at the top of your lungs while you're in your car, so that everybody starts staring at you when you're at a stoplight. But that sort of thing never happens to me. Most of us have at least one category where SASS really flares up. That thing that we buy over and over again, even though we know that we have plenty. I call that our kryptonite category, and I'm curious, what's yours? Mine is makeup, but I also got pretty sassy when it came to things like clothing and shoes. And I know that a couple of my best friends get really sassy when it comes to things like yarn and books. So why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we keep accumulating when we already have enough? I think there are a lot of answers out there, and I would love to hear yours, but I think one of them is that acquiring can become a form of self-soothing. Each new purchase represents a new future version of ourselves that will be better in some way. That lipstick will make you bolder. That new notebook will make you more organized. That new crafting tool will inspire you to create more. Or that blazer might finally convince me that I'm not just cosplaying as an adult. And sometimes I think we're filling emotional gaps with physical objects, which brings me to my confession. I currently own 17 Tom Ford eyeshadow quads. 17! for this one tiny face. Now, admittedly, I received a couple as Christmas gifts and some were decluttered to me, so I didn't buy all of them, but I certainly bought more than enough of them. And looking back, I think I bought them because it felt like an area of my life where I could finally get exactly what I wanted. When work felt uncertain or relationships felt complicated, I could walk into a department store and at least completely solve one of my problems. I could open up my eyeshadow drawer and feel like I had all my ducks in a row. Now, these aren't just any eyeshadows, they're Tom Ford. They're luxury, they're beautiful. And every time I open the box where I keep them, it feels like opening a box of the world's most expensive candy. But here's the thing, I usually only create one face of makeup per day, which means I can't play with all of them all the time. And if I happen to open that box when I already have makeup on my face, it makes me genuinely sad because I can't put yet another quad on my face. That's what we might call a mild SASS flare-up. The joy of having choices becomes the heartbreak of not being able to make all those choices simultaneously. Each quad told me a story about when they would be perfect.
I'm for dramatic date nights.
I'm for important meetings.
I'm for when you want to look effortless, but chic and expensive.
And I believed all those stories, probably because believing them was easier than admitting that I was buying control, not eyeshadows. So I'm curious, what are you really buying when you accumulate in your Kryptonite category? Because I have a feeling it might not just be the thing itself. But the truth is, most days I reach for like the same 5 quads, the ones that feel like home. The others feel more like those songs that I skip in the overstuffed playlist. They have their place because I really do like them, but I have to be in a certain mood to enjoy them. And that made me realize something, that having more doesn't necessarily mean enjoying more. Sometimes the extras just fade into the background, which raises the bigger question, then why do we continue accumulating stuff? We accumulate for so many different reasons, and none of them are wrong. Curiosity, comfort, self-expression, the thrill of possibilities. Some of those reasons act as guides that help us to discover new things that we truly love. But other times, they lead us down a path towards things that ultimately sit unused, turning joy into noise. I think the hardest part is that you can't always tell the difference in the moment. It takes time and attention to reveal what truly earns its place in our lives. Which means maximalism isn't just about what we gather, it's about learning why we do things, what we actually want, and what brings value to our lives. It's those facts that give us the data points to figure out what actually sings and what falls silent. And that's really the heart of what I call the Adagio Mindset, slowing down enough to let your real preferences reveal themselves. Because when we pause between wanting and buying or spend more time with what we already own, we begin to see what truly adds value to our lives. Sometimes that means rediscovering a hidden gem in our collection and realizing we don't actually need that new thing. Sometimes it might mean discovering that thing we thought we wanted was actually just a passing mood. But other times, waiting can reveal that it truly is a good time to try something new. Shopping isn't bad. The real trap is shopping on autopilot, when we let habits and passing moods decide for us instead of our true needs and wants. Because if we're going to spend our hard-earned money, we might as well at least spend it on something that truly adds value. So here are some questions I've been asking myself to bring the Adagio idea into maximalism. I call it the future self reality check. And the first question is, do I have concrete plans for this item? If I don't, then maybe I should reconsider buying it, because when am I going to honestly have the time to use and enjoy it when I have so many other beautiful things? If I do have concrete plans, then I ask, are those plans realistic? Will future me actually have the time, energy, or occasion to use this? Will this item complement or compete? Does it add to my collection, or will it be fighting with what I already know and love? And by the way, if you want to know why I say love instead of love, I have a whole video about it that I'll link in the show notes. Those questions, grounded in what I learned from past SASS flare-ups, are helping me to stop skipping through my playlist and really focus on and commit to the songs that I truly enjoy. So what's the prescription for SASS? Well, it's not abstinence and it's not shame. It's awareness. The cure for SASS isn't less stuff, it's just being more intentional about stuff. These days, I practice what I call Adagio Maximalism, slow, deliberate savoring. I still love having choices, I still get excited for new launches, but I have learned to pause between the wanting and the buying because my makeup monster wants everything. But that doesn't mean that I actually want everything. I only want what I can realistically, thoroughly savor. In my case, I only have one face to apply makeup to, so that naturally limits how much I can enjoy. Sure, I can own 365 eyeshadow palettes, but if I want to use and enjoy all of them, that means that I can only use each of them just once a year. So now I ask myself, if I buy this new thing, will that mean I have less time to enjoy what I already own and love? That question changed everything for me because it made me realize that most of the time, I already have what I'm looking for. Ask your fake doctor if Adagio is right for you. Adagio is the first lifestyle treatment clinically shown to reduce flare-ups of stuff accumulation syndrome. Adagio works by slowing down acquisition and increasing satisfaction with what we already have. Results may vary, but most patients report improved bank balance, reduced clutter, and spontaneous feelings of gratitude. Possible side effects may include sudden rediscovery of shoes shoved into the back of your closet that perfectly go with 5 different outfits you already own. Spontaneous squeals of joy when hitting pan for the first time in years. Temporary smugness while shopping your stash instead of Sephora. Reduced compulsion to buy yet another set of watercolor paints because these ones have better pigmentation than your unopened set from last year. Occasional boredom when resisting new launches, usually treatable with creativity. And rare but serious cases of laughing at yourself in the mirror while wearing a grocery store smoky eye. If your symptoms of SASS persist, know that you're not alone. Talk to your local support group, also known as the comments section. And that's the cure for SASS that I'm learning to live with. Not less joy, just more intentional joy. Instead of drowning in things, maximalism can mean living in abundance that we actually have the time and energy to enjoy. It's like having a great playlist where instead of constantly skipping through tons of stuff to get to the good songs, you actually want to put it on repeat and just listen. And my 17 Tom Ford quads taught me that a feeling of abundance means not feeling pressured to use everything at once. Just let the right things shine at the right moment. Not every track on the playlist needs to be played daily. Just enjoy the ones that do, and maybe try not to accumulate any more B-sides. If your SASS ever flares up like mine sometimes does, remember, we're all in recovery together. You're always welcome on my corner of the interwebs, and if you'd like more constant support, feel free to join Club Adagio over on Patreon. The links are in the show notes. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out this video here. Thanks for hanging out, and to all of my patrons and channel members, including my Adagio angels, for making content like this possible. And I hope we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.